So I'll call the December 27th, 2018 Planning Board meeting to order for the town of Northwood. Got to get all those words in there. At 6:33, present Ralph Ryder, select person?
I think it's actually still Selectmen, yeah. It's a New England thing.
Yeah, Selectmen's Rep. Beth Boudreau, Betty Smith, Chair Bob Strobel, Linda Smith, Town Board Administrator. Voting designation, all members present. We have minutes of December 13th to go over, and I'd entertain a motion.
So moved.
Second.
Okay, motion by Ms. Smith, second by Mr. Kreider. Other thing I found, well, discussion on the motion on page 5, page 7, and page 8. Mr. Miller is actually Mr. Mikuliski.
Makes sense. You already caught that Betty and I are not.
I did not get that part.
We shouldn't be on the voter designation list.
Right.
Because you were not here.
Yeah, I mean, that the attendance is correct, but I don't think the voter designation is correct.
Okay, yes.
Mr. Chair, if we could change Jen Sis to Town Planner Pro Tem,
Sure.
or we could put her official title, but I don't, she's not actually an interim.
Yeah. I'm fine with that.
It's good.
Anything else?
Since I wasn't here, I can't comment.
Yeah. Well, you can.
Well,
The expectation for minutes, whether you are here or not, is you're allowed to vote on them because you're a member. It might be, you obviously can't have recollection of what actually happened.
Good
yeah,
evening, Lee.
that's what I meant, yeah.
Musical chairs.
But if you cannot, you should be able to figure out what happened by reading the minutes. And if you find
Oh, that kind of
things to that effect, like voting designation is different than absent or present, members present, I'll certainly say so. But just because you weren't here does not mean automatically you're excluded from discussing the minutes. And Vice Chair Lee Baldwin is present at 6:35 and added to the voting designation. And we're just going over minutes.
They're better than ones that don't.
Can I set the assignments for me?
Oh,
Extra one, please.
sorry.
So anything else on the minutes? Do you want to take a minute? I think we got most of them.
Back under voting designation, Al and I weren't here,
Right.
Correct.
but that suggestion worked, correct?
Correct. And my technical notes are to just put an arrow from present to voting designation.
Oh,
But I didn't include that in the motion. You can't see that in the motion. I can't understand why.
yeah.
So,
Well, not psychic.
okay.
Where's Mr. Miller?
It's actually Justin
Ski.
Mikuliski. But there's another
had
Justin
that
on another
discussion,
board.
Okay.
But that's why I asked as
I
well.
was so confused.
That's okay. Okay, motion on the floor. Are we ready to go or? Okay.
Yep.
All those in favor of the motion, I'm assuming that the second and motion are as amended.
Correct.
All those in favor say aye.
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 Those opposed? Those abstaining?
I'm going to abstain.
I guess due to absence.
Yes.
Okay. Usually there's always a requirement for why you're abstaining. Okay.
Sorry.
There's minutes of December 13th. We have a preliminary consult. Is that mailed out?
Pardon?
Was the preliminary consult handed out last time?
Yes, it was.
Okay.
Typically, we don't get information, but we did in this case.
Yeah,
It was handed out.
I know I got a copy.
I have a copy in front of me. I can call and see if they're on their way while you want to move on to the next
We'll
one?
move on to the next one. That's fine. I didn't know they were coming, so, okay, we
That
can
was
do
my
that.
understanding.
No, that's fine. Absolutely fine.
I can
So-
double check.
Doesn't matter. Well, maybe a call would be worth
Yeah.
based on the next two things. So I'm going to take Chair's prerogative and rearrange the schedule a little bit to the continued case, Ledgewood Realty Trust, case 18-13. And I have a letter dated December 26, 2018 from Peter Holden that'll read into the record. Northwood Planning Board, dear Planning Board members, we met with the Planning Board on Thursday, November 29, 2018 to discuss the Millstone Realty Trust application for the expansion of an existing site plan. At that time, the Planning Board scheduled to meet with the applicant again on December 27, 2018 to continue the discussion. Since the November 29, 2018 minutes, we have been working with the applicant to address comments that were raised by the Planning Board. We would like to postpone the meeting that was scheduled for December 27, 2018 to the next Planning Board meeting, which is scheduled for January 24, 2018 at 7 p.m. It's actually 6:30, but this rescheduling will help us in completing our addressing of questions and comments raised on the application. Thank you for your assistance in this matter. Sincerely, Peter Holden. So he has requested an extension to January 24th, sorry.
So, Bob, does that automatically move our deadline back the same amount?
Our deadline for,
Well, you say we're on the clock, you know.
the 65 days? No, not until the clock runs up until the 65 days. At the end of the 65 days, the applicant can request an extension, or we decide on the information we've been presented so far. Good question, though.
Related question.
Sure.
Do we have the report back from the Conservation Commission relative to the comments that they might have on the final status, you know, once they, quote, return everything back to normal?
No, but we could get a copy of that.
That was provided to the board back at that time, but I
That's
can
what I
get
thought.
another copy for this.
Well, the reason I'm asking is, there was some discussion regarding, instead of like in the front part, where, you know, there's this expectation of sod and all that kind of stuff, what they expected to do was take the top layer of soil and stuff off before they could start taking the rocks and stone out, pile that up someplace, and then when they're done, put it back.
Okay, I gotta interject, because we're talking about the application.
Yeah.
They're not here and they requested a continuance, but let me just say this, I'm sorry, I was confused, I was thinking you were talking about Granite Street. As far as
No, I'm talking about
Ledgewood,
Yes.
they did receive their special exception from the zoning board, and I can get you a copy of their second letter. I think it was distributed, but it basically said they were satisfied, but I will get you a copy of that.
Yeah,
I think
that's,
it was in there.
yeah, because it's a little bit different than what we had done, and I just want to make sure that if we're coming up against a tighter, you know, deadline, so to speak, where we might have to approve next month, then I'd just like to know that everybody's on board.
Okay. We'd be... Yeah, we will hit the...
Yeah, let's
CCI
I just
days.
want to make sure we
They've
have
been
whatever we're supposed
pretty
to
good
have.
about being aware of the extensions, though,
Yeah,
in
okay.
the past, so.
Mr. Chairman, if I can just mention, I'm going to go make that call, but just a reminder on the next one, that that has not been accepted as complete. So if you do continue that one would be based
Discussion.
on discussion of completeness. But was there an actual motion on that,
On Ledgewood?
on Ledgewood?
Not yet.
Okay, thank you.
Okay. So I would entertain a motion to extend case 18-13 to January 24th.
So moved.
Okay, can I have a second?
Second,
Okay.
we can do it.
Motion by Ms. B. Smith, second by Ms. Baldwin.
Sorry, no.
That's
All
okay.
all those in favor of continuing Ledgewood Realty Trust 1813 to January 24th, say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? Those abstaining? Okay. If there's anyone here, we'll put that'll be, I think, the first thing on the agenda on January 24th. And we have a new case, 18-20, 168 Granite Street Properties. And I have, oops. A letter from them as well. From Richard D. Bartlett and Associates, Dear Chairman Strobel, we have made application for a major subdivision for 168 Granite Street Properties LLC, which is scheduled to be heard at the December 27th Planning Board meeting. We recently found out our engineer will not be able to attend the meeting and are asking for a postponement of our hearing to the next regularly scheduled meeting in January. Thank you for your considerations. Regards, Mark C. Sargent, LLS. Since we have not accepted that application yet, we can't, there's a different protocol in that we cannot officially extend it because we haven't opened a hearing yet. That being said, we really can't open it. I don't want to open it without the applicant being here to represent themselves. So
Put that back in the folder.
well, there's a few things that we can discuss completeness. And there are some things that, at least in my review, as I went through, that I would like to give the applicant, because the applicant has given us a chance to take a look at this for our questions or date information, whatever. I would like to take advantage of that and get information back to the applicant for things that I would find helpful, that don't deal with the merits of the case, but would be information that they can now have a month to take care of. So this is all under the premise of completeness. And Linda's back, so you ready to?
Yes, I am. I'm
Okay.
all set.
And please, other people jump in, but I'd like to deal with it sheet by sheet.
Yeah, go ahead.
So sheet EX1, which is the second one in.
Gary, do you want me to sweep by
I
the,
would suggest that you request the information, but don't discuss it.
Right.
oh, okay.
Yep.
I'll just make a list that I can send.
Thank you.
And Ron, you can tell me if I'm being too picky. How about that for at this stage?
Yeah, it's gotta be big stuff for this stage.
Okay, that's what I thought.
Such as a complete drainage report, a traffic study,
Yep.
road plan.
You look here. 'cause
Okay.
it's-
So existing, I don't have. I did my coloring because it was difficult to see on the overall. Anybody have anything they wanted to see in specific on the existing plan or existing site conditions? I've got a few minor things. On sheet S1, which is the overall plan, I would,
What page are you on?
That's one.
S1,
Where's he?
third page in,
Oh, third page.
Where are you reading the numbers, Bob?
Oh, right
in
here.
the bottom
S1,
right.
S1,
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 S1.
sorry.
that's okay. I would,
Yeah. Thank you.
and James brought this up, that on sheet, I think it's C2, shows the grading for the driveways.
So this is the driveway one.
I would like to have the driveways shown on, in conjunction with, well, essentially show the driveways on sheet S1. So that we can see the 4,000 square foot wet, septic setback, the well location and the what protection radius, and the lot lines and the setbacks.
Bob,
Go ahead.
I don't know, there's some other dotted lines here, maybe they aren't the driveway
So
though.
I guess
No,
that's
if
the
you-
property
if you
line, and
look
that's
at-
their boundary, like their
There's
Look
old
at
logging
sheet
roads
C2.
and stuff.
sheet.
In the back,
C2,
see Charles 2,
yeah, okay.
you can see where the driveways are loaded, listed in essentially just
Lot
around
6,
that
that's the
detail.
driveway.
Does this have
Yeah.
these two now?
No,
Still don't have this.
still not. But if we can put that on as a request, that the driveways are shown on S1, that would be enough for me.
So Bob, I'm not clear what showing it on S,
Because Well, I think we don't want to discuss this, we just want to have a list that they can,
yeah, I want to understand why Bob's requesting
Because
it though.
on S1, you have the well radius and the septic and the lot lines, so you can see where the driveways are in relation to those.
Right.
Okay. Oh, and these don't have that.
Yep. And they
Plus
don't
it's
have
not
that.
the overall,
As well, they don't have, the driveways show essentially, or on sheet 2, they show as a possible, not required, building footprint. And that, I like to see that in conjunction to the other 2 requirements, because those are really the only 3 that we have.
yeah. No, I only asked because I guess originally when we walked it and stuff and looked at these drawings, I thought they were pretty complete and I don't want to.
They are for all information, but not, I'm used to seeing a subdivision for having all 3 on at once. You know, at least showing the driveway, show the septic, show the well. And once we open the application, we can get into more specifics as to why I want to see that.
Okay.
But
Yeah.
that was,
I mean, if you have specific reasons, I guess I'm okay. I just don't want to exercise them needlessly.
in the days of pen and ink, that would be a big request. In the days of CAD drawings, it's picking up one layer and putting it on another.
Yeah, I understand. Did I get you with that?
No, I was just protecting Gary's ears.
Yep.
Alice got it, Gary. You have allies here, huh?
Yep. And I think with that, that would cover it for me.
Oh, no, thank you.
Because everything else is fairly, not, it doesn't impact completeness. Anyone have anything else they want to see?
I'm not sure where they are now. You just got this fresh last time.
Okay.
They're up there on the floor.
Oh, there's some more up
Yeah.
there?
So what would be next, and this will be addressed to members of the public, I assume are here for this application. because we haven't opened it, we'll hear it on January 24th. I think it'll be the, if my math is correct, it'll be the second application. We'll hear Daco, or Ledgewood Realty Trust first. This will be the second one, so most likely, don't jinx me, probably after or about 7 o'clock. At that point in time, provided we find it complete and we open it, we'll have the engineer here or the applicant's representative give an overview, and at that point in time, after the board has a chance to take a look at it, we'll have public comments. Yes,
Can I ask a question?
certainly.
Administrative question. In terms of notification of abutters, I noticed one name was missing, and off of the sheets, and I didn't know the house had been sold in March, so it's listed for, I don't know, Oregon Trust or something, Oklahoma
Your neighbor?
Trust or something, yeah,
Yes.
the neighbors. I'm just questioning whether they received notification, because on that plot
Yes.
plan, it's changed.
It's, we'll talk afterward,
Thank you.
but thank you.
We'll check into
Because,
that.
yeah, I
Thank you,
think
thanks.
there should be notification there. They
Yep.
don't-
All right.
That's easily done. So,
Well, it's good to know
Yep.
now, so we can take care of it.
Right.
Thank
Well,
you.
you're talking about completeness.
Mm-hmm.
yep, exactly. Okay, so I would entertain a motion to continue discussion of completeness on case 18-20 to January 24th. If somebody wanted to make some.
So moved.
Second.
Motion by Ms. B. Smith, second by Mr. Kreider.
I waited a little bit,
Very, very polite.
That's okay,
just a
yes.
little bit.
Discussion? Hearing none. All those in favor of hearing the continuation of this case 1820 on January 24th, say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? Those abstaining? Okay.
And I went in to get the phone number from Mr. Hadley, and I pulled up his email, and then I realized that he had requested a 7:15 start time due to his commute. He
Oh.
could not get here before then.
Okay.
So I anticipate he will show up right at that, around
Okay,
that point in
that'll be
time.
fine.
If we can,
Thank you for checking. Good to know. So we can do other business. You're allowed to leave if you,
Yes, I believe.
allowed to leave, don't worry about it.
Anything else exciting?
No, not really.
Unless you want to join.
Zoning amendments.
Yeah, we're looking for people to,
If you stay,
They're
we'll,
boring, aren't they?
we can't recruit her for the zoning board because
No,
she's
we can't.
already on it.
Right, exactly.
Yeah, you can't touch this.
wow.
Yep,
Thank you.
thank you. Okay,
this is an existing zone.
I didn't see that. Is that in me?
yeah,
It's in your
no,
folder.
No, I don't think
that is not.
This is, I think. This is his attachment.
Yeah, it's a preliminary
No,
as a
this-
concept.
Oh, this is full length, this is,
Yes, as a concept.
yeah, I know, but this exists.
Yes.
Okay. Do we let them do that now? That's got an awful lot of points.
I don't think,
This is older, that's why I was.
no pond,
Hill Pond and Burn Road.
I think that's Stratford.
Oh, okay.
What road?
Mill Pond and Burn?
That's
down
Northwood.
Bell Lake?
Yeah, that's Northwood.
It is Northwood?
That was not intended to be on here,
Private?
is it? Oh, yes, it is.
Yeah, it's one of his things, he's trying to
Oh,
show.
If they're
okay.
private or not. I don't-
Where are they?
Yes,
But we don't want to
private.
discuss that now.
It says private.
I can tell you that is Cove Woods development off of Bow Lake Road.
Oh, yes, yes.
My
As
only
you come down
question
the
was
hill
the
from,
triangular lots.
yeah.
We don't do that anymore, do we? If we can
Well-
avoid it?
No, we don't.
Yeah.
And that, you mean the one on the right side of the road? That could date back 100 years, I don't know.
No, the attachment D where he's talking, showing,
Yeah, the lot 5 and 6 on the left, off the 1.18.
Oh,
Roundabout.
yeah, okay. No, the 100-foot lot width came in after that.
okay. Yeah, because there's some very triangular lots here. And
Yes.
And you'll also notice the size of them was when we had a
Smaller.
different, we had more reduced lot size incentive under open space.
Yeah. Okay.
You could have as little as an acre.
Do we have anything
point.
on, I know we're talking about the preliminary, but do we have anything on we need to do with the zoning amendments
No,
tonight?
I will just mention that the zoning amendments have been published, and the public hearing is scheduled for Thursday, January 3rd at 5:30. I did hear back from town council on number 6, which was the only one that had not been reviewed at that point, and she has some questions, so I think it's good that we allocated enough time to have a second public hearing, because I think we may need to make some adjustments.
Okay. Is that something we need to do
I will be
tonight?
talking, no,
No.
I will be speaking with James, and he'll take a look at it. I think he'll review it, we'll talk about it, and then speak with Laura and come back with a draft for you to consider
Okay,
at the night of the,
January 3rd.
mm-hmm,
Okay. And just a reminder that for the people who weren't here last time, we do have that public hearing on January 3rd at 5:30, which means we need to have a quorum.
Right.
That's the one we can't bring home, is the colored one.
But it should not be a long meeting, because we're
You can
essentially
have mine if you
just
want it,
public
it's
hearing.
okay.
right, and we do have a budget meeting that night to follow, so,
Okay, so at 6:30, I hope?
yes.
Okay.
So, I mean, we're not gonna push
Budget?
the public out if they're here to speak, but on the
Right.
other hand, typically, you know,
Yeah.
we'll take the comments. It should not take more than an hour to get any comments that people have.
Okay.
Budget meeting starts at 7, isn't it?
I think it's 6:30 that night, but it may get bumped back to 7 because we did not receive any petition warrant articles yet, but I don't know what might come in. But that wouldn't matter for that night anyway. That's the following meeting.
Just, before Jim gets here, can I get a copy of his note? I couldn't find it anywhere.
Sure. And if you maybe want to take a 10-minute recess, so
Yeah, we
Gary's
can
not
take a
running that
10
tape.
minute. Gary, we'll take a 10-minute recess. Okay.
Well, I was
So we're
talking to
back
Jim
from
before I went to
recess at
Astro.
7:10, and we have a preliminary consult with Mr. Jim Hadley.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, members of the board. For the record, my name is Jim Hadley, and I'm here tonight just to give you a quick overview and to see if there's any, serious issues that you see. But this is my first time in doing development. We've lived in Northwood 30 years, had a house built up on Old Mountain Road. So this happens to start where we live across the street. So it's about 43 acres. It's currently in current use. And what we plan on doing first is on Upper Deerfield Road, there's about 600 feet of frontage. And to come in March, probably, they're doing a complete survey right now, boundary survey. And I've been told that we could possibly ask for a waiver on the topo for, instead of doing the whole parcel, 45, just focus on the 6 or 7 acres that we're currently planning on subdividing. So it's 1,570 feet frontage on Old Mountain Road, and it goes around 600 feet on Upper Deerfield Road. So I did provide the board a couple weeks ago with a cover letter and a couple of some attachments. So the first, rather than doing a new cut on the Old Mountain Road, there's already an old logging road. So we wanted to use that. If you look at like attachment B, on the left-hand side, it's 2 and 3. So I show like a possible shared driveway.
Okay, okay.
Yeah, lot 1 is on Upper Deerfield, is 275 feet of frontage, goes back 320, 2 acres. But the other, I thought maybe using the shared driveway and not having to put in two driveways would work out better in that area. And then on the next page, attachment C, I just show what the approximate frontage and the depth of the lots are. And they're all about 2 acres. Berry Engineering, surveying, they're doing the boundary survey, and they think they'll be done with the field work next week. So I do plan on coming back in March to the planning board with a formal subdivision for the three lots. As you know, every lot is unique, and this one is no different. So I attached a copy of, several years ago, there was a open space development. This is attachment D up on Bow Lake Road, which I think it was about on 30 acres or something like that. But I also looked at a recent 5-unit condominium that the board approved. And I said Old Canterbury, but it was actually Old Turnpike Road. Apologize for that.
We can forgive you for that.
Yeah, forgive me for that. So that was like 10 acres, I think, and they're building on just a few acres, and I think the abutters liked that because it kept open space for the balance of the land. So I'm still undecided as far as what we plan to do on most of the land. My wife and I can retire in a couple years, and so we plan on building a house for ourselves, a one level downsizing. So I just, like there are wetlands on the property, there are some steep slopes, et cetera. So of course we plan to abide by all the development ordinances and the subdivision regulations.
Sure.
And the property is in current use now, so we'll keep most of it in current use until we decide at some future point we want to do anything.
Comments? I mean, I'm more than happy to start it, but I don't want to always hog the limelight.
Go ahead.
Well,
Go ahead.
no, go ahead.
Okay. Well, it looks good. A couple, in my opinion, and I'm not speaking for the board, don't think that. The idea of a shared driveway is, I understand the intent of having one cut.
Yeah.
Generally, I think it's in the Board of Selectmen's town regs where they're frowned on. Maybe it's
That's my
ours.
frown.
The shared driveways are frowned on mainly because of, let's say, disagreements on whose turn it is to plow
Right. Yep.
or how to do maintenance.
Yep.
Who chips in more, oh, well, I think owner A says, well, I think we need to have it regraded and put down 2 inches of gravel, and owner B says, over my dead body.
Yep. So if you look at attachment B, I could just come right in on lot 3 as its own driveway, and then use whatever's there now for the logging road for the driveway for lot 2.
Okay. You are, and I don't have a good sense of where the lot lines are being, but you have wetlands right behind those.
Yeah, we wouldn't go
So-
into the wetlands.
Okay. Just be aware, and I'm sure Berry Engineering will tell you all this, the same
Yeah,
kind of
and
thing.
they just flagged the wetlands about a week ago.
Okay, okay. Just make sure that you've got enough space in those lots
Yeah.
for 75-foot well radius and 4,000 square feet for septic, and that you can get a driveway in somewhere and fit a house in with all of those, but that's why you hired an engineer.
All right.
It just seems trying to fit 3 lots in that little front piece off a old or
Upper
Upper
Deerfield?
Deerfield might be sort of tight, but that's just me, and I haven't, like I said, I'm not designing it. The other thing to think about, because you mentioned it in your cover letter, is the idea of what you're planning on doing in the future for your retirement home or the rest of the property. I think that might be difficult with the wetlands. And the abutting property, because it looks like you've got your 600 feet of frontage on Upper Deerfield. If you put those 2 or 3 lots in now,
Yeah.
and you're leaning toward putting a house in the back or
No,
something
it'd
to
be
that effect.
up the mountain on the other side of the wetlands. You know, there's a swamp area north of Lot 3. So it would be beyond a wetland. I think the wetland is 100 feet
Okay,
long.
okay, so a separate driveway then?
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah, further up.
But is the idea to have just like one big lot that's wet, or a couple, or?
Probably two.
Okay, so you have no more than on one hand, and I'm not holding you to that.
Yeah,
That's, okay.
yeah.
So you're not looking at like 4, 5, 6 more?
No,
Okay.
no.
Okay.
In the engineer, the surveyor, December 21st, once we have that, we can get into the computer and start getting a couple preliminary lot layouts. So with the wetlands flagged and everything, they should be able to,
Okay,
get a good sense of how everything will fit.
sure. And my reason I ask is there's a difference between trying to fit 1 or 2 in
Yeah.
as opposed to 5 or more.
Why is that?
Well, just looking, if you look at the topo, or the second sheet, if essentially the land to the left or the right of the wetlands that abuts Upper Deerfield is taken up by 2 or 3 lots, then how do you have essentially one bit of frontage left to get to the land that exists between the water and the wetlands. And so you're looking at one long, narrow lot that doesn't have any frontage. How would you get frontage if you wanted to divide that into 4, 5, or 6? You have to put a road in, and that's why you're getting some difficult geometry.
So if you look at attachment A,
Yep. Yeah, exactly.
with the 600 and the 550.
Yep.
So that'll be phase 1, say, with the 3 lots. And then moving up where the 1570 is, on Old Mountain Road, there'll be a driveway for our future house. And then there'll be something, maybe a condominium, like on Old Turnpike Road, on below that, to the right of the 1570, going in straight like.
Yep.
So nothing would be coming in from Upper Deerfield, would just be the 3 lots.
Okay. And essentially all the back would be
Yeah.
open space.
Yep.
Okay.
And we haven't even walked it yet, just
Sure.
because of hunting season and
Yeah, that's safe.
and the bears. My wife saw a couple bears a
good.
month or so ago, so they're supposed to be in hibernation now, but now I think they're, because of the weather or something, they,
Warm, they're
Yeah.
set
Yeah.
out.
They are?
Yeah.
So those 3 lots then are really to the right of the wetlands?
Yeah.
Using up that little,
correct.
Okay.
Yep.
Okay.
Mr. Chairman, if I
Yeah.
could add a comment
Sure.
relative to the concept of shared driveways. And it is helpful to reduce the number of curb cuts, but then you have the
Agreed.
other side of it. One option the board has, which the board did quite a number of years ago, on Mountain Ave, there was 2 lots with one kind of beside the other, but out back, they put a shared driveway in, and there was minimum specifications for that shared portion that had to be double the normal size, and then it was single driveways off of that. So to the point where they broke apart, the board set certain parameters,
Okay,
and then from that point on, it would be 2 separate driveways.
okay,
So for a short period of time, it was a shared driveway with a maintenance agreement
right,
as part of the subdivision approval.
okay. That would be certainly a way to do it.
Yeah, I mean,
'Cause
that
it
is
take-
an option if,
It takes it off of the gentleman's agreement or ladies' agreement between the two neighbors.
Well, along those same lines though, Bob, I mean, where I live, the maintenance is right as part of the deed.
Sure. And that would be the case here. If it's proposed as a subdivision and the agreements are put on the lot, then it doesn't matter, you
Right,
are
but-
held to it.
Yeah.
Um,
I mean, there still might be some disagreements like you said about whether it needs gravel or not, but at least in terms of the plowing, which, is for emergency access and stuff,
Sure.
at least that part of the maintenance, it's kind of hard to argue about that you need to,
Right, yeah. I gotta get out, with 6 inches of
it's got to
snow.
be plowed, yeah.
and then it was on that one down there, it was actually required a small bond. Either that or it had to be built before building permits would be issued to the parameters that the board set for the amount of gravel and the width of it and
Yeah.
that type of thing.
And the planning board set those parameters?
Yes.
The only, and again, this is something that Barry will do, I think you have plenty of frontage on Old Mountain. But if you did for phase 2, whatever you want to call it, I guess phase 2, 3, 26, looking at the shape of the lots, the requirement, and Lee brought this up earlier, if you look at attachment D off of Bow Lake Road, specifically Mill Pond Road, the cul-de-sac on the end of Mill Pond Road, the 1.18.
Yeah.
There are 2 lots off of that are triangular shaped. Those are no longer allowed.
Yeah. Well, we plan to have ours lot to the left of the 1570, and then
Yep.
we would have enough 10 acres or whatever that would include the wetlands there,
Yep,
so that it would, over 10 acres would be
exactly.
remain in current use and
Sure.
would be part of our lot, and then it would be the other area that could possibly be developed.
The only other thing that comes to mind, and it's again something I don't know your intentions further down, and it's phase 2, phase 3 possibly aspect, would be that, and it makes things much more complicated, but again, it's, you might, depending on the number of lots for after phase 1 that you're looking for.
Yeah.
And the reason I say this is because it impacts phase 1. You might want to consider a driveway essentially coming off of Upper Deerfield Road at the 0 in the middle of 600, cross that wetlands, and then that would give you, if you essentially wanted to split the phase 2 in half, that would give you access to the backland.
Yeah. And see, what I originally planned to do was at the 550 there, to leave 60 feet or whatever, and then go in that way, but then walking out there, there's, when I got to the wetland and stuff like that, I just, it got to the point where I didn't
quite
want to have
wet.
to deal with, DES and
Sure.
wetlands permits and stuff like that without disturbing the wetlands. And coming into the right of 1570, it just seemed to be the, no wetlands and pretty clear,
Yep.
whether it's a, condominium type thing like Turnpike. road. But, you know, we do want to keep it as, you know, rural as possible as far as the land in the back, and, you know, we can't do anything with the wetlands anyhow, but it's just something that we want to do over the next, you know, two to 3 years.
Okay.
You know, the phase one would be in March coming to the board, and the rest depends on our works schedule.
Sure. Yep, no, that looks, I don't know, what, other thoughts, comments?
Appreciate the heads up.
Yeah,
Hmm?
definitely.
Appreciate the heads up.
Yeah.
It's always good to,
Transparency.
Well, it lets us think about it a little bit too, Jim. I mean, you know, not that we think about these all the time, but, you know, next time you drive by or something, you can sort of take a look and,
Yeah, and we've lived there like 30 years and stuff, and, you know, it is a rural area, and, you know, they've logged the road and stuff like that, and this time, they've never had a boundary survey done on the 43 acres, so we're having one done, and they're gonna paint the trees orange so that,
okay,
you know, we'll know exactly, you know, where it is, because when they logged it 20 years ago, I guess they went over the boundaries and their issues and stuff like that.
it happens. More often than I would think, but it does, unfortunately.
So, you know, I agree with the shared driveways. I'm not a big supporter of shared driveways, and I did have another surveyor take a look at it back in, even before I bought it, in July, and his comment was to come in on Old Mountain Road for those 2 lots. You know, and I think that might be the cleanest and the,
You have, I mean, by our regulations, if you really wanted to, you've got enough frontage for 10 lots
Yeah.
on that base of land.
Yeah.
So I think being able to fit 2 in there
yeah.
is pretty good, and that's what, at least that's to my brain. That should give you enough space to site them fairly well.
Yeah.
So no, that looks good. Okay.
So
We'll
I
see
wanted to thank you for your time
Thank you.
and for your service to the town of Northwood, and Happy New Year.
To you too. We'll see you in March or whenever.
Yep.
You have my sympathy having to pack up after living somewhere for 30 years.
But at least you'll be almost
Still
across
packing.
the street.
You could walk across the street.
It's still packing.
I know.
Well, it'll be nice because then I'll be able to walk to work instead of working in Boston.
Oh, there you go.
True.
Thanks again.
Have a good night, thanks. Okay. We have no more zoning amendments. Any other business the town has?
I have nothing.
Okay, any other business that the board has?
Motion to adjourn?
second,
This is
Again, I'll just stick in a reminder about filing for positions, the 3rd week in January, just keeping
Yes.
it out so people think about it, remember it.
This year? Open it.
I just did it last year.
I think it's Hal and Joe. 'Cause we just talked about it last
Yeah,
time.
we did, we looked at that, I think it is,
I think it's Hal and Joe who are up. Hard to believe you've been on the board 3 years already. Time flies.
and it's been fun. I want that on the record, it's been fun.
it's
Okay.
been-
Trying to encourage other folks, look how much fun we had
It's been
tonight.
fun.
Look how much fun we had tonight. I mean, really.
It was a good night.
Just wait.
Yes, my fun meter is pegged.
No, we did not vote. We don't vote on adjournment. We're adjourned at 7:30.